What's going on, guys? Super Savage 789 here, bringing you guys a video. And today doing What If Goku was in Naruto Part 1. Now without further ado, let's just get into the story. Goku's space pod drifts through space towards Earth, getting closer and closer to his destination. In space, however, a what if wormhole opens up, sucking the space pod through to an almost identical universe, the Naruto universe. With the destination set to go to Earth, he'd arrive, heading straight towards what we know as a hidden leaf village. Normally, people would notice the weird alien ship coming towards Earth. However, all their attention is focused on the massive nine-tailed fox rampaging in their village currently. As his pod approaches the leaf village, it is hit very hard by one of the tails of the fox, coincidentally hitting Goku's head in the process. His pod is knocked into the outskirts of the village, all broken apart due to the power of the beast. It leaves the baby inside, staring into the sky, where he sees something of interest: the full moon. Instantly, Goku begins to grow rapidly, getting fur all over as he becomes bigger than any building. He lets out a monstrous roar as he becomes a mighty Ozaru, getting the attention of the people on the leaf, especially Kurama. Due to the feral beast's locking eyes, they rush at each other in what appears to be an epic fight for the ages. Appears being the key word. It wouldn't take long for Kurama to easily body Goku, though, due to the strength Kurama possesses. At least Minato being able to teleport Kurama away due to the distraction the Ozaru gave the Nine-Tailed Beast. In the process, he also cuts off Goku's tail with a kunai by accident, before teleporting away. Hiruzen and a small group rush over as the Ozaru slowly begins to shrink to make sure they can apprehend it. When they arrive, however, they see that it's just a small infant child crying wildly. This confuses them, as they realize this baby is behind the beast. They don't have much time to really think about this, though. Hiruzen asks two of the guards to take the boy back to the Hokage office, as he and the rest of them rush off to help Minato, with the rest plays out normally. The next day, Hiruzen would see to Goku. He asks Inoichi, the head of the Yamanaka clan, to read the boy's mind, to see what he remembers, but what he does remember is very minimalistic. He shows that this boy has amnesia, and doesn't remember most, if not all of his actions. Hiruzen decides to give the boy a chance, and lets him live in the Leaf Village, giving him the name Goku, after the ancient tale of the Monkey King. Goku would live in the Leaf Village, and grows up like any other kid would. Due to Danzo being Danzo, he'd end up declaring Goku was the boy behind the Ozaru attack, and so the Leaf Village would hate on Goku just like they do Naruto. This doesn't faze him that much though, since he is quite aloof. Goku would spend most of his time training on his own, or eating food, just like he typically does, and for the most part, no one really has a problem with this. At least he isn't as annoying as Naruto is. One day, after Goku was done eating, he was walking through the Leaf Village and spotted Naruto causing a prank. It made him laugh and fall over at how funny the blonde boy truly was. So later that day, Goku goes and finds Naruto on the swing outside the academy. He says hello to him and tells him that his joke was really funny, which Naruto thanks him for. He leaps up shouting how he's a comedic genius and the future Hokage. He tries to make a clone and makes a tiny clone like in the last, which Goku finds even more hilarious. Goku and Naruto end up forming a good relationship, since they don't really have anyone else to talk to. It results in them training together, eating together, and doing pranks together, which the both boys really love. In the academy, Goku's test results will be pretty bad. That is unless the questions are on straight combat, but nothing strategical. It makes sense he's able to understand fighting and stuff, due to that being what's on his mind purely focuses on, due to natural instinct. Most people in the academy don't really have an opinion on Goku and his laid-back personality, since he isn't a loudmouth like Naruto. He does get people's eyes when in taijutsu training, since he typically wipes the floor against whoever he's fighting, but other than that, he's basically blended into the background. In class, when practicing molding chakra, Goku just doesn't seem to get it. Iruka chalks this up due to a lack of chakra control and tries to instruct him. While this is a bit more clearer, it merely leads to Goku creating a tiny yellow ball in his hand. This further confuses Iruka as he decides to pay the Hokage a visit with this dilemma. Hiruzen comes up with the idea that Goku might not have chakra, since the Sage of Six Paths bestow chakra onto all of them, and Goku is seemingly not from this world. He decides to check this by asking a Hyuga clan member to check this, and surely enough, his hypothesis is proven correct. Instead, there's a seemingly yellow flowing energy through his body that resembles chakra, though it clearly isn't that. Since it somewhat resembles chakra, Hiruzen believes that it might share the same properties as chakra, and doesn't currently give Goku any special treatment. After 2 failed attempts though, and no progress, the Hokage realizes that this probably isn't the case, so he decides to give Goku some special treatment after all. He takes Goku aside and tells him that he'll give him a special test for him to pass the academy. He tells Goku that he needs to learn to manipulate his ki and be able to form a blast, which Goku thinks might be hard. So to help him, Hiruzen gives him a sturdy staff that should be useful to both channel ki into and to learn to control ki without it. Goku will train intensely for this. With help from Naruto, he'd most likely be able to do this by the time of graduation. He also learns that the staff is quite useful in combat, so he decides to keep it. Now, would Naruto learn ki? Well, no. Goku's only just now barely got a grasp of the power, and so he can't teach him this power as of now. Could he potentially learn it in the future? It's a possibility, but you'll have to find out. After graduation, Goku goes looking for Naruto and finds him on the swing. When seeing his friend upset, he tries to make him feel better, but it doesn't work, and Naruto just tries to say that he wants to be alone. So he walks off to be alone, where he runs into Mizuki. The whole thing goes the same, and Goku learns about it after the fact. With Shadow Clones, the training the duo can do increases tenfold. Goku finds it super cool that Naruto can do this, and wishes that he had a technique that could do that. Maybe in the future, he will. Now, what Genin team would Goku be assigned to? I'm going to say he's assigned to Team A instead of Shino, mainly because Shino won't be that important to the story anyways. When joining the team, Kiba would actually hate Goku since he's an aloof idiot, and that really conflicts with his personality. His insults never land on Goku, which just further cements his rage. As for Hinata, she'd probably find Goku funny. Since she knows that he is Naruto's best friend, she sees him as pretty cool, and they become fast friends. One day, Kiba just loses it. He tells Goku that he's just a dumb monkey who probably doesn't know the difference between a dishcloth and marriage. When Goku asks if those are types of food, Kiba believes that this is him being snarky and trying to insult him back. With his blood now boiling, he tells Goku that he'll show him. He throws a punch at Goku, which he easily evades. He then gets into a fighting stance, telling Kiba that he doesn't mind some sparring. Kiba and Goku begin to fight, which Hinata and Kurenai watch from afar. After taijutsu doesn't work against Goku, Kiba decides to go for the down on all fours jutsu. He rushes at Goku, trying to speed blitz him, and while he gets a couple good hits in, Goku manages to adapt to Kiba's new fighting style. In classic Goku style, he closes his eyes and then uses his very own up in the trees jutsu. Just like a monkey would, Goku leaps into the trees, beginning to make monkey noises as he bounces from tree branch to tree branch. When, knowing that Kiba is off guard, Goku leaps from the trees and hits him with a staff that he has now dubbed the Nuibo. He leaves a traditional anime bump on his head, making Goku laugh. So Kiba decides to use his final ace in the hole. He gives Akamaru a military pill, and together they use the human mimicry and beast mimicry, creating two equally strong opponents that Goku now has to battle. When the duo begin fighting Goku, he does much better than expected. He has been sparring with Naruto's Shadow Clone, so he knows how to fight multiple opponents. Plus, his Nuibo comes in handy during this. It leads to him putting both Kiba and Akamaru on their ass. Kiba begins to self-loathe at this defeat. How could he lose to such a simpleton? But then he sees a hand held out to him. Goku offers him a hand up, chuckling that was a really good match, and they should do it again. Kiba takes that hand, realizing that maybe Goku isn't all that bad. It doesn't take long for Goku and Kiba to become friends, where they occasionally do spar together. Seeing the potential in Goku, Kurenai would most likely ask Asuma to give him some training. Asuma would spar with Goku, and while he's holding back a lot, he's impressed with the skill Goku demonstrates. He even teaches him how to make his Nuibo stronger by channeling ki into it. When Naruto returns from the Land of Waves, he and Goku would go and get ramen to catch up about what's been happening. Naruto tells the monkey boy about what happened, which Goku finds exciting. Let's move swiftly along to the Chunin exams arc. Goku would be there and spectates a battle between Sasuke and Lee. Seeing how strong Lee is with just taijutsu gets Goku excited. He runs over asking Lee for a sparring match, which bushy brows would agree to. Both of them would be suppressed and would begin to exchange blows using solely taijutsu. Since both are taijutsu experts, this battle is intense and only Elite can keep up. Being pretty boring though, Neji steps in the way, telling Lee that they can't be late. As they walk away, Goku shouts that they should fight again, which Lee reacts to by putting his thumb up and smiling. In the written exams, Team A manages to pass like in canon. Goku ends up falling asleep during the exam, and so he doesn't answer any questions, but he also sits there for the 10th question, meaning they pass. In the Forest of Death, while the whole thing with the Sound Trio happens like normal, Team A end up in a similar place by witnessing Gaara brutally murder those Genin. Hinata, Kiba, and Akamaru are all paralyzed by fear. Goku isn't though. He leaps out and shouts towards Gaara that he's strong and that they should fight. Both Gaara's and Goku's teammates stare in fear and shock as Gaara slowly turns towards Goku, bloodlust irradiating off of him. He raises up his hand and consumes Goku in a crushing sand coffin, which Goku leaps out of, ready for battle. The battle is very similar to Lee vs Gaara, as you can imagine. I'd put Goku around base Lee's strength about weights, which is quite alarming when up against Gaara. The fight is definitely epic, watching Goku fight off Gaara's sand and getting in hits, but slowly he is worn down. His body is beaten with the amounts of sand beating him down, leaving him very bloodied and very beaten. As sand begins to consume Goku, he sees his friends in the trees. He realizes that he can't die here and lets out a scream of rage. A yellow blasted ki blows the sand off of him, saving Goku, but leaving him exhausted. Before Gaara can finish him off though, Keeper rockets in with the fang of a fang, grabbing Goku and escaping. Teammate would still pass, but with the knowledge about how dangerous Gaara really is truly cemented into their mind. In the preliminaries, I'm not going to randomize the fights for the most part, however I'm going to change 2 fights, since Goku being there would randomize it, if only a little bit. So the first changed fight would be Dosu vs Zaku. I think we all know Dosu would win, so let's not go into many specifics and just say he does. The next fight would be Goku vs Choji. With Goku still really battle damaged, Choji isn't very worried about winning. To pump him up, Ino even shouts to kick his opponent's ass. When the fight begins, Choji uses the human expansion jutsu and rolls at Goku, who manages to jump over him. Choji then throws a big fist at Goku, which he manages to block. The duo go back and forth with Goku doing his best to keep up. The fight comes to a brief stop when both participants pull out a bento box and begin eating lunch, which would be quite comedic. With this new boost in strength from eating food, Goku rushes at Choji and begins to speed blitz him. With a quick beatdown, Choji is unable to battle as Ino cheers for Goku and the match is set. Goku would end up training with Asuma since he is able to better train Goku in his Nuobo. Slowly, Goku would recover and receive a Zenkai boost from his fight with Gaara, leading to a good amp in power. It leads to him actually meeting the people in Team 10 and getting along with them quite well, especially Choji, where Goku and Choji have eating contests until they become fat in a traditional anime sense. Seeing Goku in battle would really get to Ino as she begins to develop a crush on the monkey boy. When Choji goes in a hospital, Goku and Shikamaru would go and check up on Lee, since Goku wants to fight Lee as soon as possible. They bump into Naruto and the 3 all go where they catch Gaara. Gaara sees Goku and his bloodlust begins to further irradiate from his body. He'd leave by destroying the window and jumping out of it. Goku asks Naruto about his training and the duo decide to have a sparring match the day before the finals. With Naruto using shadow clones as well as tree and water walking, he begins to outnumber Goku and get some good hits on him. Since Goku has been training with his Nuobo as well as in Taijutsu, he effortlessly takes down the clones. Naruto lands behind him though and holds a kunai to his neck. As Naruto begins to get cocky about his whim, his leg is grabbed and he sees a tail sprouting from Goku. Then Goku takes Naruto down with it. Naruto questions Goku about it and he just shrugs, saying it just grew the other day. However, he's gonna hide it for now and pull it out to surprise everyone. Disclaimer, never pull it out to surprise anyone. The day of the finals, Goku would be pitted up against Kankuro. However, like in canon, Kankuro forfeits, which upsets Goku. Gaara ends up fighting Sasuke, Kabuto puts people to sleep, and the Sand Trio flee. Since Goku doesn't have chakra, the Genjutsu doesn't affect him since it needs to mess with your chakra flow, and so he begins to follow them before anyone else does. As the Sand Trio begin to flee, Goku catches up to them before anyone else, shouting for them to stop. He grabs his Nuobo and attempts to hit Gaara, however Kankuro blocks it with a puppet. Kankuro tells his siblings to go ahead as he takes on Goku, which they agree to. They begin to leave, however Fireball Jutsu blocks their way. Sasuke lands next to Goku and the duo make a silent agreement to fight together. The duo begin battle against Temari and Kankuro, with Gaara taking a backseat for the time being. With Goku's strength, the puppets are very easy for him to fight. The weapons pose the only challenge to him, but with his Nuobo and his tail for extra attacking length and movement speed, he manages to destroy the puppets and knock Kankuro out with a rock-paper-scissors attack. Meanwhile, Sasuke also beats Temari since he is more skilled and fire release beats wind release 9 out of 10 times. Both the Son and the Uchiha turn towards Gaara, ready to easily beat him down, when Gaara's body rapidly shifts with sand, creating a claw and covering half his face. With a maniacal laughter, Gaara lunges at them, wanting to kill them. This is an uphill battle, and while the duo manage to hang in there for a good while, Gaara's strength seemingly keeps rising to a point where their already fatigued bodies just can't seem to handle it. In a last-ditch effort, Goku creates a ki blast in his hand and uses all his strength to blast Gaara's arm off. He does regrow it, however the bloodlust coming off of him after that is immeasurable. He approaches a fatigued and now beaten Goku and Sasuke, ready to kill them, but lucky enough, Naruto arrives. He uses shadow clones and kicks Gaara away, telling Sakura to help them. She nods and subsequently drags the duo away. The rest of the fight then goes the same, with Gaara getting the traditional Talk no Jutsu and turning to the side of good. After this, when Goku recovers, he'd get out of hospital and find Naruto. The blonde asks Goku how he managed to blow Gaara's arm off like that, having seen him while he was rushing towards him. Goku creates a ki blast in his hand and tells Naruto that this is it. He doesn't really know how to use it yet, but he has a basic understanding on how to create one. Naruto demands Goku teach him how to do it, which Goku agrees to do, seeing no reason not to. Goku and Naruto begin trying to learn how to use ki together. For Goku it's quite easy, however for Naruto it's a different case entirely. He struggles immensely, even though he's seemingly doing the same thing Goku is. He can tell it isn't impossible per se to learn it, however, to do it is just extremely difficult. During one of these training exercises, Jiraiya arrives, telling Naruto that he's taking him to go and find the new Hokage. Naruto asks if Goku can come along, and seeing no reason as to why not, Jiraiya agrees. While looking for Tsunade, Jiraiya begins to teach both boys the Rasengan. Even though Goku doesn't have chakra, he's seemingly getting the basics down with ki alone. Like in canon, Naruto and Goku run to Kisame and Itachi, where Sasuke arrives, gets bodied, Jiraiya arrives, and scares the Akatsuki members off. Having Goku there doesn't really do much to change that, unfortunately. When running into Tsunade, having Goku there doesn't change much, at least not initially. Naruto still challenges Tsunade to a fight, where she bodies him, and they make their bet. While this goes on, Goku gets bored, and begins to look around. He sees the buildings, and the stars, and the moon. Goku begins to grow bigger and bigger, fur growing over his body as he towers over everyone else. Jiraiya grabs Naruto and leaps backwards, with Shizune not far behind. Tsunade stands her ground, however, amused at the beast's appearance. In one punch, she easily takes him down to the count, asking Jiraiya what they should do with him. She doesn't really want to kill him, but if she must. Naruto is really confused at what happened, stating that he and Goku have looked at the moon before and that didn't happen. He puts two and two together, and for once he's smart and realizes that it must be his tail, telling Tsunade to rip it out. She does so, and sure enough, Goku reverts back to his base. Jiraiya flips the naked Goku over, and places a seal on where his tailbone is, permanently stopping the growth of a tail for the foreseeable future. The next day, Goku wakes up wearing different clothing, asking what happened. They don't have an answer, so they tell him that he passed out, which Goku accepts. And with that, he goes back to training. In the Rasengan training, surprisingly enough, Goku actually learns it twice as fast as Naruto, however it clearly has some differences. Firstly, it's made of ki, but also it's unstable. Goku holds it in two hands, but the ball doesn't seemingly remain in the same shape. It usually fires off forward, doing more damage than if he used it as a melee weapon. Jiraiya tells Goku that while this technique shares some similarities with the Rasengan, it definitely isn't that, and Goku should think of a different name for the technique entirely. Goku spends the next couple of days brainstorming a name with no luck. When he sees a turtle walk past him, he gets a stroke of inspiration though. Again, like in canon, Jiraiya gets drugged, and the gang all rush off to help Tsunade. They find Kabuto, and both Naruto and Goku battle him together. Most of his medical jutsu wouldn't work on Goku due to not possessing chakra, however I'm pretty sure the scalpel would. He ends up stabbing Naruto's hand, where Naruto ends up creating his Rasengan. From afar, Goku also begins charging up his newly named Kamehameha, and the duo use their attack in unison on Kabuto, which would actually knock him out this time. The rest of the arc plays out very similar to canon, ultimately leading to Tsunade coming back to the Leaf and becoming the Hokage. Sasuke would end up joining the Sound Four and fleeing the Leaf Village, with a Sasuke retrieval team needing to be formed. Naturally, Shikamaru would think of asking Goku to join, and finds him having an eating contest with Choji. They both join the team, as well as Kibra, Neji, and Naruto, and everyone heads off as fast as possible to stop Sasuke. When Jirobo jumps him and catches him in that Earth Dome, Goku asks what's happening to everyone else. Since Jirobo can't take his chakra, since he doesn't have any to begin with, Goku isn't feeling the effects of the jutsu. So Shikamaru asks Goku to break them out, and he fires a Kamehameha, blowing up a good chunk that allows them freedom. Choji would stay behind to fight with Jirobo, and everyone moves on. Like in canon, Neji fights Kidomaru, and Kiba fights Sakon and Ukon. When coming up against Tayuya though, Goku says that he'll stay behind and fight her. Although Naruto wants to protest, Shikamaru tells them they need to go, and so they move along. Shikamaru tells Naruto that Goku knew he was the only one who could fight her, since she primarily uses Genjutsu, and that can't affect Goku. Against Tayuya, Goku would get a really good match. With the golems as strong as they are, Goku would enjoy the challenge in fighting them. Since Tayuya has to manly control them all, it poses a challenge against the Monkey Boy due to his martial arts prowess. So I'm sure using his ki, Goku would be able to destroy them all. He grabs his new elbow and rushes at Tayuya, who enters the second stage of her curse mark, blocking his staff with her flute. She knows that she can't beat Goku at raw power, so she tries to flee. However, a gust of sharp wind slashes her and pushes her back down. Tamari stands there with a cocky grin on her face as Goku unleashes a massive Kamehameha, blowing up the Sound 4 member. Against Kimimaro, Shikamaru would hang back and tells Naruto to go ahead. Using his brain, he begins to figure out how Kimimara's Kekkei Genkai works and begins to dissect it. Eventually, he rushes at Kimimaro, who stabs Shikamaru through the hip with a bone. This is what he wanted as he grabs a kunai and stabs under the bone, getting some good damage in. Since the bone is on the outside, there is very little protection there. Lee would show up and assist Shikamaru since he can properly put this plan to use. Drunk Lee can't though since he's drunk, but the amping power he gets from that would counteract it. I'm sure it'd lead to Kimimaro entering the second stage earlier and dying not long after Gaara arrives. The rest of the arc would play out like normal, with Jiraiya telling Naruto they're off on a training trip. He asks if Goku can come along, but Jiraiya tells him no, not this time. This really upsets Naruto, so he decides to go and talk with Goku about it. He tells Goku that he doesn't want to leave, he'd rather stay and train with him, become strong that way. Seeing through this lie though, Goku tells Naruto that he needs to go. He can go and get strong so they can fight when he gets back. Goku then holds out his fist, and the duo fist bump, leading to the end of part 1. In the time skip, Goku would be training hard. While Naruto during the time skip refines his existing techniques, Goku would be making whole new ones. He creates some basic key techniques like the Taiyoken and the multiform, seeing them as useful despite the blatant flaws of the techniques. During this time, he'd still be a genin, so he'd be doing it on the job, which gets the interest of Kiba. He tells Goku that he wants to try and make a technique, and slowly begins to pick up the very basics of Ki, creating a technique he called the Wolfang Fist. He doesn't explore that path any further though, as he struggled to make a basic technique. After Goku achieves the rank of Chunin, he'd have a lot more time to train. It means that he'd be able to train with Lee, increasing the taijutsu prowess of both by leagues. My Guy and Lee would both take a liking to Goku, and they tried to teach him a technique very few can pull off, the 8 gates. They explain to him the basics, but the problem is Goku doesn't have chakra nodes. He tries to interpret their tips and would dig deep, releasing a red aura from his body that immediately makes Lee and Guy both panic. Unknowingly, Goku just learned the basic form of the Kaioken. Goku begins to learn to use this new type of power, seeing it as somewhat quite useful in certain situations. The recoil that he takes from it isn't that great, but he learns to hold it and make it a useful part of his arsenal. Someone else would also learn how to use this, Rock Lee. Now, I know what you're thinking. Lee can only use taijutsu, right? Well, that's because he can't manifest his chakra properly. Ki, however, works much differently to chakra, so learning Ki would be quite beneficial for Lee. He'd learn to use the Kaioken, however, the buff he gets from the gates would be much more beneficial. I think Lee would also learn basic Ki techniques and create his own technique that he calls the Kienzon. Goku and Choji would also keep up their good relationship. I think Asuma would pay off Goku to train Choji into shape in return for an all-you-can-eat buffet after. Naturally, Goku would take this offer. I'm sure Choji would also pick up the basics of Ki and would learn to use basic Ki blasts. Since Goku is spending more time with Choji, Ino and Goku would also spend more time together, where Ino's crush for Goku continues to grow. After 2.5 years pass, Goku senses a familiar presence approaching the village. He immediately takes flight towards the gates, letting out a loud shout for Naruto! He grabs his Nuobo as Naruto grabs his kunai, and the duo collide their weapons. Goku then hops backwards, telling Naruto that he hopes he's stronger now. Naruto tells Jiraiya to step back and watch as he kicks Goku's ass. Naruto immediately starts off creating shadow clones, who all rush at the same warrior. He uses the multiform, which impresses Naruto quite a bit. The clones begin to collide, however it's quickly evident that the shadow clones are a superior cloning technique. So all the clones in unison of Goku ignite the Kaioken, and destroy all the clones of Naruto with a hard blow, shooting the real Naruto backwards. All the Gokus refuse and rush at Naruto as they begin to engage in taijutsu. This puts Naruto outclassed due to this being Goku's proficiency. So he hits him with a point-blank Rasengan, getting some good damage on him. He then creates a big shuriken to throw at him, but Goku reacts with Taiyoken, blinding him. When Naruto's eyes come to, he looks for Goku, but he is nowhere. He does feel the Kamehameha hit him from above, doing some good damage, and putting an end to the fight. Goku and Naruto stumble towards the village, and are quickly scolded by both Tsunade and Sakura for being so reckless. Goku promised he'd not immediately fight Naruto when he got back, which both Goku and Naruto laugh at. They then get healed up by the two medical ninja. The start of the Kazekage rescue arc goes the same, with Team 7 being sent in pursuit like cannon. When Team Kai is sent after them and come up against Kisame, Lee is much more useful in the fight, using his ki techniques to attack Kisame. He'd probably get 1 or 2 good shots in before things will go like cannon. When up against the clones, Lee would actually be able to defeat his quite easily. This is because they are chakra to cloning tags, so they can't copy his ki techniques. So the Kaioken Ki ends on Barrage, Lee's clones are destroyed. He then rushes off to go and help Team 7. He quickly finds Sakura and Chio battling Sasori as Haruko's shell is destroyed. Lee would participate in the fight, and with his Kien's on, Sasori's Iron Sun attacks are easily foderized, and he's resort to his 100 puppets much earlier. It ultimately does lead to his defeat, just like in canon. When Tsunade gives Team 7 2 new members, she chooses Yamato and Goku. This is because she trusts Goku as well as him and Naruto sharing a good bond that will be useful on missions. And from a storytelling point of view, there is no need to assign the story, so it just works better overall. The Tenchi Bridge arc also goes very similar to canon, minus the side plot. Seeing Naruto and his four tails excites Goku as he realizes Naruto's holding back so much power. It just inspires him to train. After this, Naruto asks Goku to teach him how to use Ki. If Goku can become strong solely using Ki, then Naruto is sure he'll become much stronger. So Goku would begin teaching Naruto ways to manifest his Ki to the best of his abilities, and then how to make his own Ki techniques. Due to Naruto's reckless nature, the technique he creates is extremely taxing on his stamina, and he has to take frequent breaks, though the technique is quite powerful. So he calls it the Kiko Ho, which would actually replace the Rasen Shuriken in this timeline. When Naruto, Goku, and Yamato rock up against Kakuzu, that fight would be much more one-sided against the mercenary. Goku uses a Kaioken times 10 and merely just rushes it, beating him around while Naruto charges up his new technique. Eventually, Goku uses a Dragon Throw, throwing him at Naruto, who unleashes a powerful Kiko Ho at him, completely destroying his heart, leaving him in the same state he was in canon. Then, Kakashi finishes him off. When returning to the Leaf Village, Naruto and unfortunately get the same news about Jiraiya's death. He'd still learned to train on Miyaboku, while everyone else remains to leave. And this is crazy because, get this, Pain would attack the Leaf. Kakashi would have a brief scuttle against Tendo when Goku and Choji arrive. Realizing the strength of Tendo Pain, Goku tells everyone else that he'll fight him. Kakashi calls him crazy, but Goku just shrugs. He hasn't had a good fight in a while, so he wants to battle this guy. Pain comments that he's either hiding some true power, or he'll die dumber than most. Goku grins, asking Pain if he'd like to find out. Immediately, Goku uses a Kaioken times 20 and rushes at the strongest Pain there is, getting a good amount of hits in before Pain starts taking him seriously. Using a Shinra Tensei to blow Goku backwards, Tendo tells Goku that while he chooses to fight alone, Pain won't be so kind. The Astral Path appears and fires a bunch of blasts at Goku, which he starts to dodge until Tendo shoots him into it. The duos of Pain continue to tag team Goku, however the Saiyan remains adamant that help is something he doesn't want. And, to be fair to the monkey boy, he is doing better than most. He even almost destroys Tendo, but gets off-guarded by a chakra rod straight through his shoulders that pins him to the ground. Pain holds his hand towards Goku, telling him that he'll now know Pain, until a loud shout from Choji distracts everyone, shouting for Pain to not do it. He leaps in, attempting to stop Pain, but he merely turns around and holds his hand out. He begins to levitate Choji into the air as Goku shouts for him to stop. The Astral Path then fires a massive rocket at him that kills Choji. This begins to get to Goku. His hair begins to levitate as he convulses on the ground, his power beginning to rise. He shouts that he won't let Pain get away with this as he explodes in a golden aura, destroying the chakra rods holding him down. Everyone looks to see Goku stood there, now a Super Saiyan. Seeing nothing new here, the Astral Path rushes at Goku, who merely turns around and fires a massive blast, destroying it immediately. Clearly, he isn't playing around. All the other paths rush at Goku, and one by one are effortlessly destroyed by basic attacks, leaving no one but Tendo left. In a last-ditch effort, he takes to the sky to try and destroy the village, but Goku is prepared. He flies up and knocks Pain straight back down into a nearby forest. Tendo Pain shouts how he can't lose. He won't. He refuses to lose to such a simpleton. He hits Goku a point-blank Chibaku Tensei, taking him off guard. Rapidly, debris from all over begins to get sucked in around Goku, and eventually shuts him inside the moon-like object. He shouts that he'll destroy the village and then the ninja world until everyone knows Pain. Channeling all his strength, Goku lets out a shout of, "I will not let you destroy my world!" He becomes a Super Saiyan and blows up the Chibaku Tensei, firing a Kamehameha at Tendo Pain, destroying him easily. Meanwhile, Naruto had returned and was briefed on the situation by Kakashi. Using Sage Mode and touching a chakra rod, he leaves to confront the man who killed his master, leading the fight up to Goku. Naruto finds Nagato and hits him with a powerful Totona Jutsu that makes him use Rinne Tensei and revive everyone who died. Goku will be trying to understand how the Super Saiyan power works. He begins trying to replicate the feelings he felt to activate it, but just can't bring himself to do it. It came out of a need and he can't replicate it properly in the environment he is in now. He tried training with Lee, Naruto and Choji, but none can help him reenact it. It does allow Choji to activate his perfect butterfly form early though, which is a plus. In the pain invasion, I think Tsunade would still fall unconscious, as even without the village being destroyed, she'd need to defend them from the Chibaku Tensei. So Danzo would become the temporary 6 Hokage and head to the 5 Kage summit. The 5 Kage summit arc then goes the same, as Goku has no need to go there. The only change is that it's a slightly stronger Naruto due to training with Goku. While this all goes on, Goku would be training, and I think he'd learn how to fly during this time. Naturally, the 4th Shinobi World War would break out. Goku would learn that Naruto was heading out, and so he asks him for one last sparring match. Naruto can see that his friend is more serious than what he typically is. For some reason, Goku feels uneasy about something. He can tell that he and Naruto are both going to grow leaps and bounds very soon, so he wants to test where they are right now. Naruto agrees, and the duo assume martial art poses, before rushing in at each other. The fight is intense, as the duo have grown leaps and bounds as of recent. It definitely isn't like last time, as Naruto is able to read Goku much better, and predict when he plans to use certain techniques. Plus with the use of Sage Mode, Naruto finally has a counter to Goku's Kaioken. With the stamina drain on Goku exhausting him, as well as Naruto advancing on him, he begins losing ground. Naruto uses Sage Mode, causing him massive problems, leading to him always being one step ahead. He finally catches Naruto off guard by a hard elbow. When Naruto explodes in a puff of smoke, he realizes the grave mistake that he just made. He barely has enough time to turn around and see Naruto stood on a nearby tree with his hands in a triangular position. He begins shouting Kikoho, and it hits Goku point blank, pushing him further and further into the ground. Goku begins trying to move against it, but he's pushed further and further. His body begins to give up. He grits his teeth and lets out a loud scream of, "I won't lose!" A golden aura surrounds him as his hair rises, and he finally becomes a Super Saiyan yet again. He floats out the crater, thanking Naruto for this match. With this, he finally understands how to access his form much better. It's every time he and Naruto fight, they grow. So when he comes back, they should have one final fight. Naruto laughs and agrees. Naturally, the war arc would arrive all the same, with Goku being placed in the 4th Division, or more commonly known as the one Gaara is in control of. He'd be quite bored sat around, and would have some comedic scenes where he challenges some random fodder to a battle, and Samari and Shikamaru scold him. On the 3rd Division, the fights against the Edo Tensei would be much quicker, as Lee is stronger, and has techniques that would easily destroy the Edos. It means that it doesn't take much longer than a day for the division to beat all their opponents. With the 1st Division, the fights there also go much quicker. Since Choji has been trained by Goku, he'd be a lot more confident when fighting against Asuma. On top of this, he already has his mastered butterfly form, so he doesn't need to go through that character development. It leads to the defeat of Asuma much quicker. He'd also probably beat Kakazu before Tobi appears on the scene. We can finally get back to Goku and his fights against the Kage. Now with him being able to use Super Saiyan, he'd be quite excited to test out this power. He'd be quite enticed by the 3rd Raikage, and so he charges at him, getting into an intense battle. When Samaru tries to order people to help him, Goku barks that he doesn't need it. He's excited for this fight, so the others should go and focus on helping the others. They agree and leave Goku to fight. During this fight, Goku would be testing out truly what he can do in Super Saiyan. He can feel like the stamina drain isn't as bad, as well as the fact that the power gain is much better than the Kaioken. When deciding to finish the fight, Goku goes all out, sending immense air pressures all around. He charges in and uses a massive Kamehameha that completely destroys the former Raikage. No need to seal away something that is atomized. When Naruto arrives, Goku would be impressed at his new form. He'd even remark that they now have golden forms. They'd be fighting together, and with ease they would defeat the 2nd Muzukage and 2nd Tsuchikage. That's when Madara is summoned to the battlefield. Goku tells Naruto to focus on getting everyone away. He can feel the immeasurable wall that Madara is, and he doesn't like it. He promises to buy some time and immediately rockets at Madara before Naruto can stop him. He throws a punch at Madara, which he blocks using a powerful Shinra Tensei. When Goku doesn't go that far back, Madara remarks that he's really impressed with the new generation. Let's see what he's capable of. Madara and Goku begin fighting, where it's clear who's the boss. Even though Goku tries his hardest, Madara is just so strong. Especially when he summons a meteor from orbit. Seeing everyone there, Goku immediately flies under it and tries to hold it up. When getting into a standstill, Madara summons a 2nd meteor on top of the 1st, beginning to push Goku back. Slowly, they fall towards the earth, picking up momentum. Sensing everyone below him, Goku shouts that he won't let them die. "If I don't, who will?" He activates the Kaioken while in Super Saiyan, and channels every ounce of power into it. When he punches the meteor, a massive dragon-like construction flies out, destroying both the meteors, making everyone celebrate. Goku falls back into base form as he plummets to the ground, unable to move. Lucky enough, he bought enough time for the other Kage to all arrive. The people who would have perished all carried Goku to the medical ward, where he's healed, receiving a Zenkai from this encounter. He'd of course arrive on the battlefield with the rest of the Alliance when the Jubi is brought out to play. With a new power boost, he'd be quite excited to test out his new technique, the Dragon Fist. It'd be cool to see him use it on the Jubi when they all try and take it down. When the Jubi begins his wood-release rampage, Goku would be doing his best to protect the people below him. He'd significantly stop casualties, meaning that it's possible Neji survives. From here, a lot of stuff happens, however Goku kind of fades into the background for most of it, and would be doing crowd control mainly. He'd be helping in the fight against Jubito, where he shows off how useful Ki really is. Then Obito gets beat, and Madara is revived. When Madara is revived, he begins to go on a rampage, the likes of which have never been seen from anyone. He even ends up becoming Jubidara, after placing Naruto and Sasuke in fatal conditions. Seeing no other way, Goku does the only thing he can. He raises his hands in the air, asking everyone for their energy. If he gets everyone's energy, then he can make the strongest Kamehameha he can. One by one, the Shinobi Alliance begin to raise up their hands and give Goku a tiny bit of their Genki. Seeing everyone trying to pull together, one feeble attempt at an attack makes Madara laugh as he continues to goad them to hit him with all their might. The ball of condensed Genki forms in the air, creating a blue glow over everyone. It makes Madara laugh as he stands there prepared. With all the power now complete, Goku launches the ball at Madara, who quickly sees the strength of the attack. The attack hits him dead on, doing quite a bit of damage and even removing one of his arms. He does survive, however, as if you think about it, he's Madara. The Naruto and Sasuke arrive, where they begin battling Madara, ultimately leading to Kage being reborn. Goku would be saved alongside the others as they begin to battle Kaguya in her dimensions. With help from Goku, I'm sure that Obito would survive and Kaguya would be sealed. Then Sasuke and Naruto have their battle, which ultimately ends, like in canon. After the war, both Obito and Sasuke would be placed in prison for their crimes in the war, but would both be pardoned by Kakashi. While Sasuke goes on his redemption trip, Obito would remain in the Leaf, trying to help out Kakashi with being Hokage, and adjusting without his Sharingan. One thing that changes is that Might Guy won't be placed in a wheelchair, so it means he can still train with Lee and Goku, which is good for all of them. Whether he gets Ki or not, I'll let you be the judge. In the last, Goku would replace the likes of Sai in the Hanabi rescue mission. For everyone to move around, Goku would use a multiform to carry them, except for Hinata, who Naruto would personally fly. The majority of the love story subplot goes the same, ultimately leading to Hinata's capture and the four shinobi storming the palace to save her. With Goku there, getting into the castle is much easier as he can just blow up a huge chunk and let Shikamaru and Sakura infiltrate the castle to save Hinabi. Then Goku and Naruto rush away to find Hinata, which they do, freeing her from Toneri's mind control. Then Goku and Naruto proceed to battle Toneri, ultimately leading to Toneri getting even worsely beaten. They would then return back to Earth with a mission well done. As time passes on, Goku would end up bedding Ino, where they eventually marry and have a child. The kid's name would be Gohan Yamanaka, a prodigy in himself. Having his father's ki control as well as his raw strength, combined with his mother's chakra and her Yamanaka skills, he'd be a force to be reckoned with, especially with his high intellect. Goku would end up becoming a master in martial arts, focusing on his very own Kame style. He'd start up a dojo to train the newer generation that he would call Kame House. It ultimately wraps up the story with Goku sent to Naruto in a rather nice way. Long story short, he'd be happy. And that's gonna be him. Make sure you like and subscribe and comment below what you thought of the series. If you liked it, make sure you give me a like, as I might do something similar. I might put Naruto in Dragon Ball, I might go Goku in One Piece. We'll find out. And yeah, bye.